Hi, my name is Ben Armstrong.
Hi, this is David Cox.
My name is Thomas Maurer.
Hi, I'm Donna Sarkar.
Hi, my name is Lana Montgomery.
Hi, I'm Seth Juarez.
Hi, I'm Oren Thomas.
I'm Jess Dodson.
Hi, I'm Rocky Heckman.
Hi, I'm Sonia Cuff.
Hi, I'm Troy Hunt.
Hello, this is Wally Mead.
My name is Reed Purvis.
Hi, I'm Lars Klint.
Hi, my name is Alan Birchall.
Hi, I'm Adam Fowler.
Hi, I'm Scott Guthrie, and you're listening to the Need to Know podcast.
All the latest Microsoft Cloud news, as well as industry guest deep dive conversations. It's a Need to Know podcast. All thanks to the Cia Ops Patron Community. The Need to Know podcast. Catch us on Twitter and Facebook, N2K Podcast, and online at ciaops.podbean.com.
Welcome along to the Need to Know podcast. My name is Robert Crane, and you join me today in mid-September 2022. So firstly, a thank you to all those people who took the time to provide feedback, get in contact with me directly, and give me some suggestions, some feedback on the previous episode, which was the comeback episode. So again, thank you very much for that. Please keep that coming. Always want to hear from people what they think and what they would like to hear on the Need to Know podcast. Now, to try something a bit new once again, what I've decided to do with this episode is also put it up on YouTube. Now, the other change is going to be that I'm going to introduce a bit of an editorial piece here. In this episode, it'll be on Secure Score, just give you a bit of a run through some ideas, my thoughts around that. And I consider that probably the best option here is to actually capture some of that on the video so people can have a look at that, see where I'm clicking inside websites and so on. So what I've done is I will take the audio and post it as a podcast as usual, but I will also make a companion offering available on YouTube, which will have not only the audio but some video as well. So hopefully you get benefit from that. And also, please give me some feedback. Let me know if you'd like to see more of that, if that works for you, and we can go from there. But the idea there is to be able to share some of the items in a video format so people can actually see what's going on inside the portal, but hopefully I'll make it work as well on the audio. Now, the reason that I thought I'd do the video and a bit of an editorial in this episode is the news from Microsoft is a tad light. Now, the reason for that is that we have Microsoft Ignite coming up. So Microsoft Ignite is their IT Pro focused event. Now, typically this was probably one of the largest conferences around. It was 40 or 45 odd thousand people attending in Florida, but thanks to lockdowns, they're only now beginning to spin these up and offer these as a face-to-face. So there is a very limited number, which I believe is sold out, 2 or 3 locations around the world, the main one being in Seattle. The good news is you don't have to attend. You can go and take advantage of that basically by the online offering. So they'll be streaming it, recording it. But my suggestion is go and make sure that you are registered for that event. So go to ignite.microsoft.com, go and sign up to that so that you can be informed about all the information, all the things that will be coming, all the events. They will be available after the fact. Now, we're expecting lots and lots of announcements that are relevant to us, so I'll keep you posted. That is from the 12th to the 14th of October, so probably about a month away now, but we are expecting lots and lots of announcements coming from that session, so go and register for that today. Now, the other thing I'll call out as an attention point here is I do offer a free team shared channel. I've got a blog post here that I'll put in the show notes to make sure that you can go and have a look at it. But the idea with that is that you can get an idea of what team shared channels are all about, and hopefully I'll be posting some relevant information in there. So I would encourage you to go in and look at the blog post and join up. There's no cost or obligation for that, but you will need to make some slight changes to your Azure AD to allow this new option for sharing. Okay, so again, go in and have a look at that article. Now, the big benefit of the team shared channel is that you don't have to tenant switch. So when you do join the my team's shared channel, the channel that has been shared with you from me will appear at the bottom list of your home environment in Teams, so you don't have to tenant switch out like you have to with Azure B2B. So again, take that opportunity to take advantage of that. No cost, no obligation. See what it's about. You can leave anytime, but encourage people to join that and be part of the conversations that are happening there around Microsoft 365. Now, another quick commercial from me is I run a regular Microsoft 365 webinar. This one for September. We are going to be basically focusing on the framework for migrations to Microsoft 365, typically the file framework. So how do you move from an on-prem file server to the new collaboration environment, Teams, and so on. So that will be on Thursday, the 22nd of September. And for those who ask, yes, it will run, even though they've decided that the 22nd is a public holiday, thanks to the events over in the UK. So please take advantage of that. Again, I'll put the link in the blog post. Sign up for that, and you can come and take advantage of that information, plus ask any questions around that. Now, as always, this episode is brought to you by the Cia Ops Patron Community. This is a subscription offering that I provide to give you the opportunity to be part of a community that is focused on Microsoft 365. You can go and sign up, different levels there. You get access to a community. You get access to a knowledge base, training videos, events, and so on. So please have a look at that as well with your travels. Now, getting back to the news here, one of the things that Apple has announced is iOS 16. So for those of you that have iOS devices, make sure that you go and update those immediately. They do cover off a number of vulnerabilities that have been discovered. So it's important to make sure that your devices, all devices, not only Microsoft devices, are kept up to date. Now, part of iOS 16 is what's known as lockdown mode. So lockdown mode basically makes it much more difficult to obviously get malware or to infect the phone or to do unsuspecting observations of what activities you're conducting on your phone. Now, according to Apple, it says here that it helps protect devices against extremely rare and sophisticated cyber attacks. So I'll put the article link in the show notes for you to go and have a look at, but by all means, go in and have a look at it. I've turned it on for my phone. Now, the main reason I turned that on is because I wanted to see whether it would impact the operation, especially since my phone is managed under device management and also application management. So it has, in-tune device management. It has, the Defender for Endpoint on it as well. So I wanted to see if this lockdown mode caused any issues. So far, I haven't really found anything. It's worked well. I don't even know that it's there. A few things that I do see that may be an issue that I still have to further investigate is when I use CarPlay. Normally I would plug the phone in and it would normally come up straight away. Now I have to plug it in and basically unlock my phone. Sort of makes sense because I'm connecting it to a untrusted USB device in the car. The other thing that I've noticed that I do have to investigate more is that in the Defender for Endpoint console, it's showing up as not reporting. So I have to verify whether that lockdown mode is in fact blocking some sort of communication with the agent, the Defender for Endpoint agent that I do have on iOS and use to protect my device. So I'll give you more updates about that, but if you are interested in being even more secure, go in and have a look at this link about lockdown mode now available in iOS. And typically to turn that on, you go into your settings in the iOS area and then do a search for lockdown, all one word, and that will pop up and you can go and turn it on. There'll be more information about that in that area as well. Now, another handy little thing that I found, I'm a big user of PowerShell, and I put my PowerShell scripts up on GitHub. They are available for you as well if you want to go and have a look at those. So you'll find those at github.com/director CIA. But Microsoft has now made Visual Studio Code available on the web. So I use Visual Studio Code as an editor for my PowerShell scripts. It does some really nice things. It has lots and lots of plugins. Use it on all my devices and synchronize the code up and down to GitHub. But Microsoft now have given us the capability to do that in the web. So again, you'll find that at vscode.dev, and again, the link will go into the show notes. If you are a user of Visual Studio and you want the capability to work with it on the web, highly recommend this. You can connect to your GitHub repos, and then you can edit your environments and do largely the vast majority of stuff you do probably if you are using Visual Studio Code on your desktop. So call that one out. I do use that as a tool effectively every day. Now there's a web version, really, really handy, makes it even easier to go and work on code when you may not necessarily have the workstation in front of you. Now, another interesting tool here which Microsoft is sponsoring or co-sponsoring is something from Terra Nova Security called Gone Fishing Tournament. Now, the idea here is we've seen the ability to get people to test their knowledge or their detection of phishing when it's sent to them, and this is, I suppose, a worldwide tournament to get people to look at phishing examples and say yes or no. Whether they think they are phishing, and then report on the statistics here. So interestingly, if you scroll down a bit on this page here, you'll see 19.8, almost 20% of participants clicked on a phishing email link. So again, it's just a bit of game, a bit of fun. I'd certainly look at it as a way to help people understand or give them a better knowledge, of what phishing emails look like, how sophisticated they are, basically becoming. And again, it's just a tournament, it's just a game, so I go in, sign up for that, have a play with it, and get some benefit out of the training it does provide. Now, one of the things that Microsoft did announce is this Storyline. So Storyline is now open for public preview. Storyline is something that's effectively added into Yammer. They also tout it as being surfaced with Viva. In essence, from what I can see, Storyline is sort of like your own personal blog inside of Yammer. The idea is that you go in and you put updates, you put pictures, you put links, you put thoughts, again, very, very blog centric to me, and then that becomes surfaced in the organization. You can follow others and their storylines and share information. So we've had a couple of attempts at creating blogs built into the Microsoft 365 environment. They have been obviously scaled back, but the latest one here is this concept of Storyline. I think this is good for collaboration, encourage the people who do want to share information. So a good example may be is, let's say, you're in a technical organization and you solve a problem, then you can go in and document that and put that in your Storyline, or go through an experience that you went through and share all the details. So again, it looks very much like an internal blogging platform. So go in, take advantage of that, and that Storyline are typically surfaced through Microsoft Viva and also through Yammer. Now, Microsoft has published this small and medium business size survey. I would certainly recommend anybody who is selling or interested in the SMB market to go in and have a look at this. I downloaded the PDF. There's a couple of PDF links in there, but some of the statistics are very, very interesting. What's important, what people are focusing on. Your millennials are beginning to come into the workforce and be the more dominant demographic here. So lots and lots of really good information in there. Again, I'll put the link in the show notes so that you can go in and have a look at that. But I'd certainly encourage you, especially if you are, selling to the SMB market, to go in and have a look at, all the valuable links that are in there as, part of that study from Microsoft. All right, so with that, we're sort of rounding up the news. We expect more, like I said, to happen in mid-October when they get around to doing Ignite. So for now, the news will be a bit light on from Microsoft while they save up all the goodies for what we expect to Ignite. So what I thought I'd do, as I mentioned, as a sort of a new part of doing a podcast, is to do a bit of an editorial, a bit of tutorial around something in Microsoft 365. So what I've chosen here is Secure Score. So if you aren't aware, Secure Score is basically a rating of the security status of your tenant. into a single number that you find inside the Microsoft environment. So I've got a blog post here, which again I'll link, which I do talk about this in more detail and all the sort of things that it does provide. So fear not, you can always go in and have a read of that. But what I'll do here is I'll basically log into the tenant here, and we can go in and have a look at that. So the way that you get to that is if you go to security.microsoft.com, and what you'll need to do is log in there as an administrator or global administrator to achieve that. Once you've done that, you will find on the left-hand side a menu option called Secure Score. So if you go to security.microsoft.com, on the left-hand side, probably 5 or 6 down, is an option called Secure Score. Now, if you select that, you are going to be taken to an area where it will give you basically a score, a percentage score out of 100. So in the demo tenant I'm looking at now, it's about 48%. Now, if you go to the if you go to the top right-hand corner here, you'll see that you do get an option to include, your current license score and your achievable score. Certainly recommend you think about turning those on to get a comparison of, what is possible if you enabled all the options inside your environment. And you also have the ability to compare this to other organizations. It'll also give you a breakdown by category, identity, data, device, and app, so how secure are each one of those. But I think the biggest benefit here is the next tab is recommended actions. So recommended actions effectively is a list of items of what needs to be done to make the tenant more secure. Now you can click on any of these recommendations and you can drill into them. They will give you the description, what they are, why you should do them, and then there's an option there to go and implement. So it'll take you through or show you the steps or provide direct links to the actions to go and turn on many of these settings inside the Microsoft 365 environment to make your tenant more secure. We've also got a history tab so we can look at the change in score over time. Now, because this is a Microsoft scoring mechanism, Microsoft will adjust the priority of many of the items here. They will remove some, add some over time. So your secure score will continue to change over time. So keep that in mind. And we can also look at the last one here, metric and trends. So the big benefit of metric and trends is you can look at organizations of a similar size. You can compare yourself to other tenants that are out there. So lots of great information in there for you to go and have a look at. But in essence, what it's going to give you, it's going to give you a to-do list of what actions you can take inside your tenant to go and improve security, pretty much a step-by-step option. Now, one of the most common questions that I do get when I start talking to people, about, secure score is around, okay, what's a good secure score? So in my books, you should be at least at or above 65%. 65% is something you can get to relatively easy by applying all the best practices that are part of the Microsoft environment. So things like turning on MFA, setting secure defaults or conditional access, enabling all the logging capabilities through Exchange, through unified audit logs, and so on. So that's pretty straightforward. I have a script that is part of my Patron community that people can run. And effectively, that will get you from the normal average or the haven't done anything or the new tenant option of about 15 or 16 up to 65 without much sweat. Now, anything above that is going to be very challenging because it requires you to implement security. That means restrictions on your users and impact to potentially the day-to-day operations of your environment. So I would suggest that a level that you should be looking to obtain, I think a good secure score really is 80% and above. So an adequate or just acceptable level will be 65. I think a better option to aim for is around 80%. So anything beyond 80%, I'd be pretty comfortable in saying that you've got security under control, and you can always get to 100%. You can always keep working on it, but 80% I think is what you should be aiming for most tenants. Now, to get to a level of 80%, you do need to look at, like I said, implementing things like conditional access and being more secure in your environment. You need to look at device management, application control, fully implementing MDM, baselines, all of those sort of things that are provided by device management. Now, getting beyond 80%, we are now getting into the realm of implementing what's known as virtualization-based security, so VBS. Virtualization-based security effectively is putting a Hyper-V style container on your devices and then running applications, running Office, running the browser, putting the credentials in there so that they are running in a sandbox and are protected from attackers. So that does require, obviously, machines that are suitable to run Hyper-V, do have the resources to do it, but most devices today, especially Windows devices, are going to have that capability. Largely all you need to do is enable those and then tick up a couple of boxes and they will be turned on. So when you do that, you'll get things like Device Guard, Credential Guard, Application Guard, and so on, and they're just largely sandboxing style technologies to put important credentials and information in securely in a sandbox and protect that, which you don't get with a normal operating system. So once you've done the virtualization based security, you're probably getting towards 90%, and the last components are largely going to be individual registry settings or settings that need to happen on the workstation. So things like turning off domain cached credentials, and there are a number of individual settings here, and they're all listed in the secure score items there. All right, so don't be afraid to go in and have a look at those, but remember that they will have an impact on the use and the operation of your production environment. Now, an example for me is that I've screwed mine down as much as I can. I think my secure score is around 95%. Now, one of the impacts as an example for me is that PowerShell runs in something called constrained mode, which means it limits some of the things I can do with PowerShell because it's running in a more secure mode. Now, that's a pain in the butt when I need to go and run a particular PowerShell or do some sort of operation. So what I've decided in that case is I'm going to leave my workstations locked down to the max, and I'll run PowerShell in a standalone VM that I'll access on demand, turn it off, turn it on as I need. That lives outside my environment. Because everything I've got is in GitHub, I can synchronize that back down. I can rebuild that VM if I want. So a little bit of extra pain, but gives me that flexibility and allows me to maintain maximum security in my production environment. So again, just be aware of that. It will impact your environment as you get towards those higher scores, but don't think that you can't achieve a score over 90. And I would suggest to you that if you are working with customers, your aim should be to get your own secure score to 90 and above. Go and do the same for your customers, and then when you go and talk to prospects or other people who are out there, most times their secure score is only going to be in the low 20s, and you can then say, well, we've got a secure score of 90. Look what we can do, or look how much more secure we can make your environment. We can take you from 20%, we can take you all the way up to something like 90%, which we have. So a lot of credibility there. So take the time, invest, get your own secure score, I would suggest, up and above 90. It will require work, but you should be able to get to 65, as I mentioned, pretty easily by just turning on the defaults using Microsoft's best practices, which are out there in the documentation from Microsoft. So again, don't forget that if you want to take a look at this on screen, I will put the recording up on YouTube. Give me some feedback. Let me know what you thought of this approach, this short editorial, whether you'd like to see more, whether you'd like to not see more. Again, I really encourage feedback to let me know what you want to take away and get value from this podcast. So with that, that's pretty much all I wanted to cover off here. So I'm going to round off with some resources from myself. So the best option to keep up to date with what's happening is to go and look at my blog. So blog.ciaops.com is going to give you that information more regularly. My GitHub repository, as I've mentioned, so that's github.com/director-CIA. All the scripts are available for you to have a look at, download and use your own environment. YouTube channel, as mentioned, so that's youtube.com/director-CIA-Ops. I've got some presentations, e-documents, PDFs, and so on up at my SlideShare. This podcast you can find at ciaops.podbean.com. There's got some online training courses, and please don't forget my online patron community at ciaopspatron.com. And again, you'll get lots more details. You'll get implementation scripts, all that sort of stuff I do provide as a subscription benefit. And again, I think there's a lot of value for people, and I'm trying to make that community the one-stop shop for everything, especially in SMB for Microsoft in the cloud, so Azure and Microsoft 365. So you'll find me on the Twitters at DirectorCIA. You can also send me a direct email at director@ciaops.com. A couple of people did that last time, provided some excellent feedback. Good to hear from you. Thank you very much for the time you took to do that. It's always great to actually get feedback and know people are getting benefit. And like I said, we'll give this attempt here at using something like YouTube and a bit of a different format. Admittedly, there's not a lot of news from Microsoft around at the moment. That will change shortly. And again, hopefully there is some there that you've got value and a little bit of discussion around a topic of choice. So some other options I'm thinking about when it comes to those editorials is, maybe a discussion or some thoughts around, break glass accounts, Defender, Defender for cloud apps, Azure integration, and so on. But please reach out. Best place is on the Twitters at DirectorCIA. Also on the emails, director@ciaops.com. But with that, thank you very much again for listening. Please provide me your feedback, and I'll see you in the next episode.
You have been listening to the Need to Know podcast from CIA Ops. For training on using technologies like SharePoint Online or Microsoft 365, visit www.ciaopsacademy.com. By purchasing from the selections available, you'll be directly supporting this podcast. To provide feedback on this episode, visit www.ciaops.com/contact.